Welcome to Highlighted, a Life Church Midweek Podcast. Here we're on a journey to look for ways to make our sermons more practical in our everyday lives, and we want to inspire you to live out your faith every single day, not just on Sundays. In each episode, we highlight our sermons and our ministries to see how God is working in our church and through our community. And as always, I'm sitting here with the best pastor in the world, my favorite pastor, one of my best friends, and this is my invisible friend. No, I don't know
that was hardcore.
No,
you can't edit it out.
It's
now.
It's you.
Yeah.
And we've been celebrating Pastor Joshua a lot recently. He had a birthday, and then he just celebrated his wedding anniversary.
20 years.
So luckily, what that means is we have a whole year to go before we celebrate him again. But no, a lot is happening, and always just life is throwing its curveballs along the way as well. And so when we walk into a sermon like we did about making choices and a faith that chooses, and knowing that like no matter where you are in life, whether you're 20 years old or 40 years old, whether you've been married for 5 years or whether you've been married for 20 years or you know, wherever you're at in life, you're always going to be led to some choices and some decisions that had to be made. Yeah. There we go. That's how you know we're real and authentic here, is because we'll stumble on our words and we'll keep it in the episode.
It's the second time we could have edited something out and didn't.
But also, just from a very practical level, it's like we have choices we make every day outside of even like complicated choices or outside of any curveballs that life throws at us. Like this morning, I had to wake up and choose what color Bass Pro hat I was going to throw on. And you had to choose what shirt you were going to wear or, you know, whatever, this and that. And like, those are little things that don't really mean anything and don't matter. But every day we're faced with choices. And when we can have a faith that chooses and it empowers us to live out that faith and not just to willy-nilly make choices, right? Because our faith and the complicated things in life are not the color of your hat or are not as simple as your shirt. And those actions, those choices oftentimes have consequences.
But I think you bring up a good point that even the small choices in our life can be faith choices. So I think about like the color of your hat and the fact that it's even a Bass Pro hat. That creates for some people a point of contact with you, or for you to have a point of contact with them that you would not have otherwise had if you weren't wearing a Bass Pro hat. Like I've talked to a handful of people over the years because of Bass Pro hats, and in part because of you. Like a couple of years ago, we all wore Bass Pro hats on your birthday on a Sunday, or for your birthday on a Sunday, and that kind of stuff. And like I was talking to someone about the church, and they wanted to know more about like how the church, you know, how people are at the church, and he was wearing a Bass Pro hat, and I brought that up, and he thought that was really cool, and so even those small choices can have eternal ramifications, even though I realize that like we're not necessarily talking about those kind of choices, but they do have like long-term things if we'll allow the Holy Spirit to use them and to guide us in them.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about like those small choices, not to sit on them too long, but like oftentimes a bunch of little choices stacked up on top of each other can start to overwhelm us.
Yeah.
And it's like, it might not be a big deal in the moment, but once you have, you know, I have to choose my pants and my shoes and my shirt and my hat, now you're choosing a whole outfit.
Yeah.
And now it's a bigger deal. And it's silly. It's a silly example. But in the same way, a lot of times we push bigger decisions and we kind of make them small.
Yeah.
And we oftentimes are like, that's not a big deal right now. I'll deal with that when it comes time. And then it comes time. But now we have 3-4 other things that we're dealing with at the same time. And knowing that, you know, we're not alone on those choices.
Yeah.
Right. We're not going, oh, I'm Paul and I'm going to do what's best for Paul in the moment, because I don't even know what's best for Paul in the moment. Right. And it doesn't matter where you're at in your life or where you're at in your faith journey, knowing that we can rely on the Holy Spirit to kind of help it direct and guide us through even the hardest of choices.
Yeah.
Is such a reassuring thing, because it kind of takes the pressure off. And there's still pressure. Yeah, there's still consequences. Yeah, there's still things that happen because of the choices we make. But it's not all on us. And it's freeing to like even just say that out loud and to know that that's true. And it's one of those things we talk about in church, like, oh, God's going to be with you. God's going to lead you. The Holy Spirit's going to help you. And it's a thing easier said than done oftentimes.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes we live our life like that, and we know like God is with us, but sometimes we don't act like God is with us.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't make decisions like God is with us and informing those decisions either.
That's good.
So just knowing that, but real quick, before we dig into the sermon, if you haven't listened to the sermon,
gotta pause
it right now, go back and watch Sunday's sermon. It was a powerful sermon. What an awesome Sunday, by the way,
It was a great Sunday.
We spent awesome time in worship. We had an amazing word. We shared communion together, which is always special, always fun. So if you weren't here on Sunday, we missed you, and I feel like you missed a lot because I felt like a lot happened on Sunday, but it's a great Sunday. So go back and watch it if you haven't. Go back and listen to it if you haven't heard it already. And now let's jump into it.
Also, you may get to hear some things that, like, when I went back and listened, and I was like, why did I say that? So see if you can pick those out. There's a couple of things in there that I'm like, I'm not sure that fit real well.
Yeah. All right. Now on to the good stuff.
Yeah.
So
faith that chooses.
And I'm going to be honest. We were talking about my hat earlier. The reason I wear these hats, I feel like maybe a mystery to most people. I'm not that I'm not outdoorsy, but I'm not like, I don't exude this outdoorsiness that most outdoorsy men exude. I like these hats because the way they're shaped and the way they fit my head.
Nice.
That's the number one reason I like this hat.
That's
and
why
then
you
they
choose to wear that hat?
That's why I like them. Yeah, I choose to wear it. Yeah. But I like the different color options. I like the way it fits my head. And they're like $5
I was saying they're cheap.
They're so cheap.
That's why I would choose to wear them.
So there's like, it's this compilation of these 3 reasons. And then you can get a couple in different colors. And then it doesn't matter what you're wearing. You can choose one. And it's like, it's not going to make your head feel funny. And they're not heavy. They're lightweight. And they're nice because my hair is super straight and thick. So what happens is I'll wake up in the morning and it's just a mess. And unless I like shower. So that's kind of your takeaway. Not that I don't shower. I want to get that out there. But you can tell when I've showered in the morning versus when I have showered in the evening the night before.
Right. Because you're wearing a Bass Pro hat.
Exactly.
That's good. I think it's important to know why we make choices. And so I know that you didn't like necessarily give that to segue into this, but it is important to know why we... Oh, look at you. Come on. It's important to know why we make choices, right? I think about, we use Moses as our example on Sunday, and he's the reason he's in the Faith Hall of Fame is not the reason that you would think he's in the Faith Hall of Fame, right? This is the guy who literally sat with God and got the law, who punished people because, who like brought down God's punishment on people because of some craziness that happened, who carried the tablets, who told people how to create the tabernacle and the Ark of the Covenant and all these different things. And he's in there because he made the choice to side with God's people. And here's the thing, he does that and then disappears for years. And we didn't even talk about this. He makes the choice and then he runs away from it. And yet he's still in the Faith Hall of Fame because he had the faith to choose. And then when he was faced with the consequences of that choice, he ran. 50 some years later, he's in the fields and he sees a bush on fire and he has no idea that choice is about to come back and he's about to have to make it again. And so he faithfully steps up to this crazy bush, right, that is on fire but not burning up. And he recognizes, right, this is holy ground. God says, hey, take your shoes off. Come here. I got something to tell you. And he steps up and he says, he doesn't say it this way, okay? This is the JCV of this story, okay? The Josh Krause version. Moses kicks off his shoes and he says, I don't know what's happening here, but this is going to be a story to tell somebody one day. He kicks off his shoes, he steps up, he comes, he kneels down, and he recognizes that there is something special happening here. He has no idea that the choice that he made back here in faith is about to connect him with his future.
Yeah, and what's cool about that is you highlighted that like there's this time period where he's like away from what he's called to, right? Really, and he makes there it is again. So third time. We're just honest and vulnerable here.
Not going to happen again.
Not going to happen again. But he makes this decision, and it's almost like he forgot about it.
Right.
It's almost like he threw it away. And I feel like, especially like, maybe it's one thing to do that with your friends, your family even, maybe someone that you work with, but with God?
Right.
Like you're going to throw that away And I mean, it's easier said than done, obviously,
Sure.
because we do that all the time in our lives.
Yeah.
But we throw that away, and years and years and years and years and years pass, and God could have chosen someone else. God could have used someone else. God could have said, all right, I thought you were the guy. I guess you're not the guy. Let me raise up someone else. They'll do. But
Yeah.
he's confronted with this decision again. And not only does he have to make the decision again, now this time he has to go in action and live it out.
Yeah. And faith that chooses is a faith that that is action oriented. Now, I don't want to just throw that whole time period out, because he's shepherding during that time period, and he's learning what it means to be a shepherd leader, which is God's kind of version of leadership for his people. Shepherd leadership is different than business leadership, is different than kingdom leadership. It's very different in how he does it. So he does learn a lot there. But to your point, like, he runs, he hides, and he thinks, okay, that choice that I made here, it changed the trajectory of his entire life. And I don't know how he really felt about it. I wonder if there was some nights that he was laying there with the sheep kind of making noises in the background, and he's laying there making sure they're protected, and he's looking up at the stars thinking, man, what did I do? Had I just not killed the guy, right? Had I just not made the decision to side with the people that I claim that are mine, like part of his choice was saying, this is my identity, then I could still be in the palace. I could still be fighting for them, man. How much more could I have done for them in the palace than here, miles and miles and miles away, years separated from my family, years separated from my friends, years separated from what I knew. And then some nights where he's like, man, this is nice. It's quiet here, right? And that choice that he made is still influencing his entire life, changing his entire life, until finally that choice catches back up with him and he has to go back. But I think what I keep getting drawn back to about this kind of part of the Faith Hall of Fame is that it's such a simple thing that he got put in there for. He just made a choice. And I think we don't put that kind of weight on our day-to-day choices, on our even our life choices. You know, it's not a big secret that my kids are older and getting older and making decisions about their life and where they're going to go to school and what they want to be when they grow up and all these things. And one of the things that I've had to kind of come to terms with is, what I think is best is not what they're going to do. Okay. And B, I need them to seek God's will, not Dad's will. And that's hard because their entire lives have been Dad's will, right? And that's kind of the way that it works. You as a kid, you do what your parents want you to do. But as you get older, you have to begin learning and determining what are the choices that are going to shape who I am and what I want to be. And in this particular case, this shapes the rest of Moses' life and changes everything about God's people.
Yeah. And what's cool is, like, even though Moses kind of ran from it, like, God still used that time, like you said.
Yeah.
Like, he's learning. Even in the waiting, like, God is using it. Even when, like, maybe that wasn't God's initial plan for him to go away for 50 years. Maybe he was going to do it in 5. Maybe he was going to do it in 10 minutes. Like, it's God. He can do whatever.
Right.
And knowing that, like, all these choices, and even then, like, at the burning bush, Moses is like, no, I'm not good enough. Like, I'm not a good speaker. And then God is still using Moses. Like, I feel like if I was God, like, I would have had enough with this guy.
Right,
like,
right.
hey, first off, you say yes and then run away?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Like, not only just say no at that point.
Right.
And then, okay, I'm waiting. All right, I'm going to give you another chance. And then I finally give you another chance. And it's this crazy, like, holy moment. And it's literally like, Moses, take your shoes off.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even have shoes in here. Like, and my house is kind of a no-shoe house. And I'm sure you've been to a no-shoe house. And, like, even then, like, I still wear my shoes in my house. Like, it doesn't matter.
Sure.
Right? Like, I want to keep my house clean, and that's why I do it. But ultimately, it's just the house. But, like, in this moment, like, Moses, you better take your shoes off.
Yeah.
You already ran
Right.
for 50 years. You already said yes, and then you did the opposite of what you said,
Right.
essentially. Like, I am like, oh, yes, Lord, I'll take my shoes. I'll take my socks off. I'll put the booty covers on that cover your feet and make sure they're clean. Whatever you need. Like, I'm doing it at this point. And then for Moses to be like burning bush moment, and I feel like we hear that a lot. Like there's this burning bush moment, and we use this phrase a lot in church and Christianity. And oftentimes God doesn't speak to us that way.
Right.
And not just oftentimes, but pretty much all of the time, he is not appearing. And even to just wrap your mind around the concept of a bush that is fully engulfed in flame, but not burning up. Yeah. It's crazy. We just had a bonfire on Saturday at our house. We did a young adults cookout, and we had a fire. We did s'mores. And anything you threw in the fire was immediately burning up. We had the little wooden skewer s'more sticks. We would break them up and throw them in the fire, and immediately they were burning up. So to know that there's this bush, not just like a pile of trash, not just a fire pit, not just a fire, but this like living thing that is fully on fire. Like if I'm Moses, no excuses, God, this time. Like I'm all in.
Right.
And then for Moses to still be like, I'm not good enough. Don't use me. This isn't my skill set.
Right.
And even then God is like, okay, Aaron can go with you.
Right.
But you're still going to do it.
Yeah.
And knowing that in the same way for our lives, God has a plan and a purpose for us. And even when we say no, even when we run from it, even when we wait a little longer than we should be, like he's still using us and building us up. And if we would just turn our eyes towards him and say yes and be open to what he's doing, like, wow, like imagine how much sooner the Israelites could have entered the promised land.
Yeah.
Imagine how much better of a communicator Moses would have been if you spent some time practicing communicating.
Yeah.
But knowing through all of these flaws, through all of these things and all of the stuff that Moses did leading up to this moment, God still chooses him and still uses him.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because like that means God can use me.
Yeah.
That means God can use you. That means God can use you. And it's not because we're perfect. It's not because we know all the right things. It's not because we went to a school and learned all the right Bible phrases and we memorized enough verses. But if God is choosing you and calling you, just say yes and he'll use you.
Yeah, you choose to do that. Practically speaking, this is a day-to-day thing that we have to do, that we have to have the faith that chooses to be obedient, to say yes, right? And we talked about our yes when we talked about Mary and when we did the Mother's Day, Father's Day kind of mini series within the series, or within the season rather, and this is essentially what Moses does. He gives God his yes, and yet it takes him a while to fully do that. He doesn't yield everything over. But I wonder how many of us on a day-to-day basis, we kind of get up and we're like, okay, God, this day is your day. And it's not Sunday, right? Mind you. But we get up on Monday and we say, today is your day. You help me make the choices. Do I need something? Do I need to have something with me? Do I need to encounter somebody? Help me pay attention to this day. I don't want to have to need a burning bush. I want to be able to discern where you want me to be, what you want me to do, who you want me to interact with. And the truth is that most of the time, those questions, those things come really easy if we're doing some things that we're supposed to be doing, like communicating with God on a regular basis through prayer, like reading our Bibles and being engaged with that, like being at church on Sunday morning. So many times, church, I want church to be a choice, right? I want people to wake up and think, man, I'm going to church today. And let that be a faith that chooses that this moment together is going to be the thing that helps me for the rest of this week, and I'm looking forward to it. A faith that chooses says, all right, Sunday morning is not something I'm ticking off the box. It's somewhere I'm going to fill up because I know God's going to empty me out this week. By the way, that's exactly what happens to Moses. God fills him up there at the burning bush, and then he goes and empties out. Right? He stands up before Pharaoh. He tells the people, come on, we got to do this. We got to make this happen. God wants us to be there. And he stands up to Pharaoh, and then spiritually he empties out. And the thing with the plagues and all that's happening there, that and anybody who's done any level of public speaking or standing up to something knows that stuff wears you out. Like Sundays after service, it's hard for me to plan stuff because I'm tired. Right, and it's hard for me to give everything to something afterwards. And I do it sometimes, but like a lot of Sundays, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go home and sit for like 2 hours before I do anything else. And it's not that I've like overexerted myself. It's that like as a speaker, as a preacher, what I want to do is give everything in that moment. And most of the time I'm able to do that. And so I just like want to go kind of kick back and relax afterwards. And Moses makes this choice. He makes the choice to keep going back time after time after time after time. And then it's not just that. Throughout his life, he's going to ask God for direction. What am I supposed to do? Even when he's frustrated, he says, God, what are you going to do with all these people? They're crazy, right? What's wrong with these people? Can't you just send me some people who, and he makes all these choices based on it. And some of his choices aren't faith-filled, right? He ends up not being able to go into the promised land because he does something different than what God told him to do. And God holds him accountable for it.
Yeah. And what's really cool is just like he had every opportunity to not make the right choice.
Yeah.
Right? Especially like even in the moment, like, okay, God, I'm choosing to do this. And then he kills the Egyptian.
Yeah.
And he could have just easily gone back home, turned himself in, gotten a slap on the wrist because of who he was.
Right.
Right? It wasn't like, oh, here's this peasant that killed this royal Egyptian. Let's lock him up. Let's kill him. Let's do whatever to him. But it would have been like, hey, that was wrong. Go to your pyramid for the next week and think about what you've done.
Go to your pyramid.
So,
wrong time frame.
I know. I did this last week too.
It was fantastic.
But go to your Sphinx and go clean your Sphinx, Moses. But it's like who he was, like that mattered,
right?
And like he wasn't gonna have to face any punishment for his crimes. He could have just kicked back in the palace, put his feet up in the Nile, floated down it on a little like pool float or something, and just hung out.
Been fine
And lived on his life. And guess what? The Israelites are still in captivity.
Yeah.
There's all these people that we don't even know what's going to pan out. We don't even, like, the rest of the story that's written happens because of this moment.
Right.
And knowing that, like, it would have been easier to choose the palace.
Yeah.
It would have been easier to choose whatever minor punishment would have been given. It would have been easier to just choose to stay hidden. But he chooses to say yes to God.
Yeah.
And he chooses to go out, and that's really that faith that God is looking for, is one that's just choosing this or that like a hat, but one that's willing to say, yes, whatever you want, God, I'm going to choose that. And that's what I love about this series is, like, we talked about our Mother's Day, Father's Day mini-series that kind of lived within the season of faith. Yeah. It was different, but it was still very much a part of it. It just wasn't based out of Hebrews 11. So we have been talking about this all the past 2 months. We're going to continue to talk about it for like the next month and a half.
Yeah.
And it's just sermon after sermon, story after story. You really see how like our faith isn't just something we claim.
Yeah.
Isn't just something that we say, oh yeah, I have faith, but it's something we choose every day.
Yeah.
It's something that we go and live out every day. And the choice is really up to us whether we're going to live it out or not.
It's good.
So I just love all the practical aspects of this series. And I love the kind of Sunday school vibe of it because we're talking about familiar stories. We're talking about like classic Old Testament like stories that we grew up with on the felt board, right? We talk about Noah, we're talking about Moses, we're going to talk about David soon. We're going to be talking about all of the Sunday school stories pretty much in this series, and not just at a surface level. Oh, David killed a giant, yay. Oh, Noah built an ark, yay. Oh, Moses let his people go, yay. But talking about their faith and why that matters and why it's important and why it matters today and how our story, right, and our story of faith can impact the next person down the road and they can live out their faith. But I love this series so much. I'm excited to jump back into it next week with a brand new story of faith. And there's so much going on, House of Prayers going on. We have youth camp next week. So, I mean, like it's a little late, but if you're watching this and it hasn't started yet, sign up. You can still sign up. We want to get your kids to camp. So whatever it takes, whatever it needs, if financial reasons are a reason holding you back, forget about it. Like that, don't let that be the reason your student or you, if you're watching and you're a student, don't go to camp. Summer camp changed my life. It changed your life. It changed Pastor Baba's life, Pastor Sarah's life, like all of us.
Yeah, don't let anything stop.
Don't let anything. And then a vast majority of other people, not just the four of us, but like don't let anything hold you back from going. It's going to be the best week of summer. So if you're a youth student, if you have a youth student, man, encourage them to sign up for camp. There's still time. And then we have kids camp week right after that. So if you're a kid and you're watching, maybe ask your parents before you watch Highlighted. That's a scary story about Moses killing the Egyptian and burning bush. But if you have kids, go ahead and at least learn about summer camp. Find out the information. Find out when it is and take that next step, because it's going to be an awesome week of summer and it's going to change their life. I really believe that. House of Prayer is coming up every Wednesday this summer, and we're jumping right back into our season of faith, our series on faith. We're still walking in the season, but back into the sermons on Sunday. It's going to be a great Sunday, as always, and we love you, and we can't wait to see you again soon.